another guitar teacher as well. Or I think that you also went to in Scotland, Ron Moore.
Ron Moore, yeah, only a couple of times to Ron. Ron was probably a little bit more classical,
Yes.
orientated,
And jazz too.
And jazz, yeah, that's right. The thing with Frank that was interesting was he didn't really play any jazz or classical. He was just an old school rhythm guitar player, but he just made everything so interesting. I mean, like learning how to read music, harmony, for example. He just lit something to me that just took off. I was like, oh great, and I learned everything backside forward because I could already play the stuff first but didn't know what it was. So I learned the wrong way around, if you like.
That's kind of how I learned too.
Yeah, so I'd be playing a chord and I would play that chord and I go, that's a nice chord, that's great, and Frank would say, what is it? And I said, I don't know. And he'd be, you know. And so we had to, and then once I knew what chord it was and he explained it, then it almost like the pieces started to come together a little bit. So no, he was really influential, a brilliant guy, and you know, he just always made it interesting. Reading music, I mean, I'd be out at the weekend playing, you know, the guitar solo from Freebird and from Lynyrd Skynyrd, and when I went to Frank, I was doing that literally. What was really interesting with Frank as well, and it's probably it's a good thing to remember if you're learning how to read music. Count out when you're playing, count out loud, because he didn't let me not count out loud, and it was only after, you know, quite a while after I realised that's the only reason I can read music reasonably well, you know, because I think a lot of people go, well, yeah, and the ear takes over, but he was saying, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, like that. And once I got over that, because I was quite shy, so I didn't feel that confident about doing that. But as soon as I did that, he was completely 100% right. And then after that, I never really ran into as many problems with reading when I was doing, don't do it as much now, but when I was doing a lot of reading, like session work and stuff, that really bailed me out every time.
I think it'd be very difficult to find a teacher like Frank now. He was, because he really was old school, and I think what often happens now, from what I don't give kind of private one-on-one lessons, but from guitar players that I do know, that very often students will come and they'll tell the teacher what they want to learn. Right, I want to learn this. But you know, Frank was one of those. No, son, I'm going to show you what you. You got to do this first.
There's an honesty about Frank. He just would say, "This is what I can help you with, son." You know, because he right at the start he did say, the rock stuff, I can't play that. I don't know how to do that, or you know, any jazz stuff. And he said, I'm just an old school rhythm player, but. Then when obviously we've heard him play rhythm, it's really infectious. You just smile all the way when he's playing, you know.
I got thinking actually, what I'm going to have to do is, because we're turning this into the Frank Henry show here. We're paying respect to our. Although Frank didn't teach me, but he's one of those guys that we have to pay our respects for, because so many wonderful guitar players came about because of Frank, and so I'm going to have to find. I've got a photograph somewhere of you and Frank standing in this very spot.
Yeah, I've got that.
So his description of Santa Claus on holiday in Hawaii. That's
exact.
That's him.
Yeah.
So you, I remember that you. At the time when you were kind of still at school, there were still a lot of these kind of social clubs, working men's clubs, miners' clubs, all in that central belt of Scotland where you're from.
I mean,
so you used to play at dances, and
I used to. Well, when I was at school, I didn't have a good guitar, so one of the ways to do that would be to get in a band. I was very fortunate. I mean, I turned up for an audition with a guitar with a warped neck and no amplifier for an electric guitar gig.
That's a good start.
It's a good start. And they saw that I didn't have this equipment and stuff, and I was very fortunate. The bass player also played guitar. He gave me a loan of his guitar, but I could play all the stuff fine. So I really enjoyed the clubs.
What kind of stuff were you playing? I know you were playing on electric guitar, but
literally just the hits of the day. I think a lot of the time.
So you have to copy the solos, and
you'd have to. Sometimes you could copy the solos, or funny enough, one of the hardest things probably was if you were in that kind of strict dance thing where you've got couples dancing by, too fast, son, too slow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's that.
It was never the right tempo for.
No, it was never the right tempo, and that's not a big in. That's a whatever it is, or whatever it was, and whereas a lot of the older guys, they didn't really like that. They just wanted to play like rockier stuff. I didn't mind that, because in my head I thought I want to get that tempo right for those people that are dancing by. So I always thought, and I think I've got a real love of rhythm playing, so I think that's where that comes from. you know, even though when I was a kid, probably I would be better known for lead playing, but the rhythm playing thing, I think just even when we used to do, if you did like a James Brown thing or something, I wanted to get that, you know, to sound like James Brown. I didn't want it to sound a bit like it, so I'd be trying to get the kind of groove. And just that, so every single rhythm that came up, and if, you know, if it was just like, if it was that, I'd try and get everything right just for myself. I don't know where that comes from exactly, but
well, Frank was a big influence because of just keeping everything in time and getting you to count.
And also not having to show off all the time, or not having to do a big guitar solo all the time, and I think that probably held me in good stead, especially for session work, because in session work they just want you to play what's there and don't put yourself into it, just play what's on the page.
Yeah, I never did session work, but in my early days when I was playing a lot of music that I didn't necessarily particularly want to play, I got a lot of satisfaction out of just doing it really well.
Yeah,
and I used to play a lot for ballroom dancing.
Yeah,
and they were very particular about tempo. I mean, it was okay for me because kind of the band leader or the drummer set the tempo, but just that satisfaction of getting it really right.
Maybe it's
and playing in context.
Yeah, pride in your work, maybe, or whatever it is. I think also the club thing's a little bit kind of, a lot of people in the clubs, they're doing it for, you know, some money or whatever. They're not really. I was into it for the music rather than any other aspect of it. And even like backing singers, you know, where I used to be like, people would go up and start, you know, giving it their Sunday afternoon Frank Sinatra, and you know, you'd right son, see, you know. And off you went, and it was hilarious because obviously they would start in C and they would come in at an E flat or a different key, so your ears had to really develop quickly as well, and I think that's important as well. So I think probably I was a bit unusual that because I'm self-taught, I learned most things by ear, but I could also read music and I could work under a bit of pressure, and that's how I ended up getting a lot of sort of session work and stuff.
Yeah, when I was young and playing in bands, mostly because at that time I was living in London, and I played in a lot of bands with older musicians that had been around for years, and they were really good musicians as well, professional players, and they liked me, and I used to think to myself, why do they like my playing? So because there's all these other players, and it eventually dawned on me many years later, long after I was doing that kind of work, that I just always knew the right appropriate thing to play. I think that's what it was. It wasn't necessarily the best thing, but I always knew the most appropriate thing to play in context of what was going on. And I think that was, rather than trying to say, look what I could do here, I think that's what it was, that because I listened a lot to music. I grew up in a musical house, so I kind of knew what I needed to play on the guitar for those things, and that's why I used to get gigs. It wasn't because I was the best. They just knew, hey, he'll know the right thing to do, because I couldn't read music as well. So that was a big. That should have been a kind of a minus point for me, to get someone that could read. But they knew that even though I couldn't read music, and we back to cabaret singer, and I could read the chords. They knew that I would find the appropriate thing to.
I think it's an instinctive thing there that you can't really. I don't know if you can learn that. I think sometimes doing those things where if you're backing a lot of singers, for example, it's one after the other, and the music's wrong, or you've just got to busk it. It does, your ears just develop in a different way from from maybe somebody that's learned from YouTube or Tab or something. You know, it's quite different, I think.